Advertising Director for News Limited and one of Sydney's leading real estate auctioneers, as well as being a sought-after keynote corporate speaker. He was in fact ranked #1 at ARIC in 2012. He's also considered one of Australia's most researched real estate thought leaders. Using evidence-based data and observing the characteristics and behaviours of the most successful real estate salespeople in the country, producing $1 million in gross commission income, he's able to articulate clearly what it is that differentiates the most successful agents against the standard in the industry, and he's about to do that for us. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Tom Panos.
Alrighty, and I don't know if you've given Brett a round of applause, and I think he deserves. I see a lot of MCs, and I think he's one of the best. Give him a round of applause if you haven't already. He's done a good job. Alrighty. Hands up if we've met before. Show of hands, please. Give me an idea. Okay, a few. Thank you for coming back to see me. Much appreciated. What a great day it's been. McGrath, Shiner, you've had your panel. An incredible opportunity today to reflect. If you're like me, I go to seminars and I think I'm borderline ADD, so I struggle a lot, but what happens is I do a lot of meditation and reflection during seminars, and I get some ideas, brain explosions, as I'm just daydreaming, and I get some things from speakers, and what happens is that I've learnt that one thing happens. If I get 1% better each day, and I don't give a stuff about the competitors, I'm 365% better at the end of the year. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is the best businesses in the country, they don't really care too much about what the others are doing. All they're doing is each day they're getting better by 1%. At the end of a week, that's 7%. 2 weeks, 14%. I've got to tell you, don't worry too much about being better than the person next to you. It's about being better than what you were yesterday. I was doing an auction recently. I do about 10 every Saturday. The reserve was 700. We stopped at 670,000 in Sydney. That's good news. $30,000 short. 3 minutes later, generally speaking, we have a sale. Hands up if you agree, if you get a highest bid to 670, there's a reserve of 700, chances are it's going to be sold. Hands up. Well, guess what? The real estate agent said to me, Tom, this buyer is a jerk. It's not going to happen. Pass it in. I said, 30 grand. Just get them up, 10 or 15, get the vendor down, let's get it sold right here, right now. He said he won't move. I spoke to him. He said, do me a favour. He's doing my head in. You speak to him. So I went over, and we do it quite regularly. It's very often the auctioneer gets involved in negotiations. Higher authority, third party, less emotion. Auctioneers don't care as much. And I'll tell you something about real estate negotiation. Care, but don't care too much. Go over to this buyer with his wife. I said, hi, I'm Tom. I'm the auctioneer. His response was, stiff shit. This was not going to be a free-flowing conversation. I said, I'd like to show you the reserve in writing. You are our highest bidder right here, right now, and we'd like to try and get this sale done at auction right now. I pulled out the reserve, showed it to him in 700. He had a look at it, and surprise, surprise, his response was, stiff shit. I said, do you want to buy this home? He said, of course I want to buy it. Why do you think I'm here? And I started to think that the real estate agent was quite right. This guy was not the nicest person I was going to meet this day. So I turned around and I said, look, I'm here, here's the reserve, your figure's not going to buy it, I need to ask you. He said, don't ask me a thing, mate. The market has had it, the economy is down, there are plenty of other properties that I can pick from, I am the highest bidder, there's no one else here, I'm the person in the driver's seat, this is my offer, Australia is in a mess, Julia Gillard has destroyed the world economy. I got depressed listening to the guy. He said, it's all downhill, I'm telling you, the market's going to crash and Greece has destroyed everything for everyone. He got personal. At which point I said, but, he said, no but. He said, that's it, I'm buying, I've been looking for a while, it's my turn, and I'm going to be buying rock bottom at the bottom of the market. I said, you're going to be buying at the bottom of the market? I said, how will you know you've bought at the bottom of the market? I said, think about it. The only way you know you've bought at the bottom of the market is when the market has gone up. Because you can look back and say, that was the bottom back then. But guess what? By that stage, it's too late. Because you'll be buying more than the bottom. Said, gets worse. So what? You spend an extra 10 or 20 grand because you missed the bottom. When the market's going up, guess what else happens? There are less properties to pick from because there's less listings on the market. So the house that you and your wife want to buy today is most likely not the house that you're going to be buying when the market's going up. I said it gets worse. When the market's going up, guess what else happens? The banks move in and they raise interest rates because they want to slow the market down. So you pay more money, you don't buy the home you want, and you get locked in at a higher rate. But before I go back to my podium to finish this auction, I'd like to ask you one simple question. Do you want to buy a home for your family based on the market or based on your life? I walked away. He had about 2 minutes. They went into conference. I could see them slightly arguing between them. Bit of friction. They called the real estate agent over. They increased their offer to 680. The vendor accepted 680 and the property got sold. And I hopped into my car to drive to my next auction. And I began to realise that one of the critical behaviours of a real estate agent in 2012 is making sure you're using dialogue and language that is relevant to 2012, not relevant to 2008 and 2009. You see, language and scripts and dialogues are like milk and bread. They have expiry dates. They serve a purpose at one time, but at some point they no longer are relevant. So this crap where you speak to buyers and say, go on, just pay another 10 grand. What the hell's that? Do you honestly think that verbal barrage is going to get people to change their minds? We're talking about having high potency language that pre-frames situations. As I got into my car and drove to the next auction, we had a property in Newtown. We got to $1 million, 3-bedroom, had parking. It was good money for the property. But the vendor said, no, I want $1.05 million. I really want $1.05 million. He wouldn't move. I go in to speak to the vendor. As I walk in, I could see he got defensive. He said, Tom, please, he said, firstly, I want to thank you. The way you promoted the property, the way you talked about it, so much energy, I want to thank you so much, but please don't push me. He said, we need $1.05 million. We wanted 1.1, we'll take $1.05 million. I said, Bill, Do you think I'm going to insult your intelligence, show up here 5 minutes before your auction, do an auction, come to see you and say, sell an asset that you've owned for 15 years? That would be insulting for anyone to do. That is not my job. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not someone that owns this asset. It's a decision you're going to make. But I want to ask you a simple question, because time is of the essence. And that is, right now, we've got someone out there that is giving you $1 million in cash. I want to ask you this simple question. Are you conservative as a profile, or are you risky? Do you like to take bets? Do you like to have a punt? What profile are you? On the conservative side, or you don't mind having a bit of risk? He said, why do you ask that? I said, very simple. Because if you don't mind taking risks, I suggest that I go back out there to the auction and I tell them that this auction is now cancelled, you're not selling, you're not happy, we send them away, and what we do is we have a strategy, which is that we cross our fingers and hope that in the next few months, all of a sudden, this market picks up and you get your price. Alternatively, if you are more conservative, this is what I suggest you do. You seriously consider, you take the $1 million in cash, because cash is king. It is not Tom Panos saying it. It is Ross Greenwood, it's Peter Switzer, it's David Koch. They will tell you in this economy, cash is king. You take the $1 million, you invest it in banks, you get 5% interest. If the market trends down 5% in real estate, they carry the debt, they carry the liability, they have an asset that's gone from $1 million to $950. You've got their $1 million in cash, plus earn 5%. You got $1.05 million in 12 months. They may have an asset that's $950. You're 100 ahead. That's the conservative thing to do. That is the intelligent thing to do. His wife says, sell it. He says, wait. Pushes her aside. He was Greek, right? He said, listen, we can't do that. It makes sense, I agree, but we're buying another home. And the homes that we're going to buy, we've been looking around. We're going to have to pay 1.4. They're bigger blocks, they're in a nicer area, and they're bigger homes. I said, Bill, I said, you know these homes that you've been looking at 1.4? Guess what? A few years ago, the vendors of those homes would have got 1.6 from you, but today they're getting 1.4. You're saving $200,000. But you're not thinking about that right now. All you're thinking about is your 50. Well, let me tell you, in this marketplace, it's built for an upgrader, because what's happened is you're making 200 on your purchase, but you're losing 50. In fact, you're $150,000 ahead upgrading in this market. But I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'm going to ask you a simple question, and that is this. Are you going to make a decision for your family based on the market or based on your life? He said, okay, let's do it. And the property got sold. And the reason I share these stories every day, every hour, there are moments of truth in your life where what you say can impact and make a decision. It can get a buyer up. It can get a vendor down. It can get someone to give you money in advertising. It can get vendor to reposition their figure. There are moments of truth. Now, if you think about it, if you became BIW, best in the world in delivering great dialogue and language, and you started doing an extra 10 sales a year because of that critical behavior alone, with no investment, just you being better at the job. Because think about it, as a real estate person, that's what you are. You're not a fax machine. You're not an email. You actually put deals together. That is the major KPI of a good real estate person. So I'm going to urge you to get really, really good at delivering scripts and dialogues. And if you want, guys, I'm not selling you anything here today. I work for news. Rupert's got enough money. He pays me enough money. Don't need to sell you anything, but I'd love you to go onto my site, tompanos.com.au, because on there is just like 40, 50 scripts and dialogues. There are business plans. There are templates, success plans, prospecting plans. It's all there. What I do is I just go find something that's working, copy it, reformat it, change the title, and put it up there. Very simple. That's the easy bit. The hard bit is getting people to actually execute. Okay, so let's move on. I want you to start using some of this dialogue and language. I went to a listing presentation 2 weeks ago. I walked in with the agent. The vendor said, just put it on the internet. I said, that's a great strategy because the internet gets the intellect buyer. She said, what? I said, the internet gets us the intellect buyer, whereas print gets us the passive aspirational buyer. We need both. She said, can you explain what do you mean by that? I said, very simple. I said, internet buyers, they're like the world's best valuers. All they do is sit on websites, look at new listings come on, look at all the data of what properties have been sold for, and they become so smart, they become intellectual. There's one problem. You don't want them to be giving you an offer because they think like a valuer and they start offering offers like a valuer. You need both the internet intellect buyer and the print passive aspirational buyer who buys from the heart. You need both. And she started saying, okay, well, let's talk about it. There's more dialogue and language. I said to her at that listing presentation, I said to her, Diana, I can tell you right now, we can condense our meeting today. What would you like? Would you like me to present you with a marketing program that's going to make you happy right now, or a marketing program that is the right thing for you that's going to get you the highest price? Which of the two do you want? The one that's going to make you happy or the one that's going to get you the highest price? Because we can give you both. This is great dialogue with a vendor. Your vendors need to know. Vendors think that they're the only house on the market in the planet. Like, there's 7 billion people, but they just think that they're the only ones. They need to be reminded, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, your home is on the market in competition, not in isolation. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, every month in our area, 30 houses transact. Your home can be one of the 30, or it could be one of the ones that buyers use as reference point to buy the other 30. Which ones do you want to be? Or this one, let's just keep it quiet for a couple of weeks, just put it on the internet. The other agent said that they had 2 million people on their database, or some incredible number, and that they were going to send it out on the database, and that someone would probably buy it straight away in the first, week. Hands up if people have vendors say that. All right. Vendors are really interesting people, because I'm absolutely convinced that vendors go to training schools themselves. Like, they must go and catch up. What are the best dialogue this month that we're going to use? It's always the same. We're not in a hurry. We don't want to give it away. The other agent said they would do it for this. Yep, all stock standard answers. That's why stock standard objections, if there's only 6 or 7 things they're going to say, it makes sense to sort of know what to say to those 7 things. You don't have to know 50, 7. Okay. So when they say to you, let's just put it on the internet, send it out to the database, see how we go. I had that said to me last week by a vendor. A vendor said to me, can we just go quietly, use database, and just see how we go. No big advertising. And just try for 2 weeks. I said, sure. I just wouldn't do the first 2. He goes, why? I said, think about it. When Coca-Cola or Nike or any organisation launches a new product in the marketplace, do they sort of say, let's not tell anyone, let's just keep it a secret, let's just put it on a website and keep our fingers crossed that they'll come and find it, and if they don't, then we'll tell everyone about it? Or do they actually say, we got a new product, it's a house, we're launching it against other products, we're in a product launch phase. So what do companies do? They have a short period of time, compressed activity to launch the product. They have 3 or 4 weeks to position that product. They have 3 or 4 weeks to make this product stand out better than other products. And you've got to say, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, in a marketplace like we have today, I need to make you shine. And the way I'm going to make you shine is to have your home better presented, to have your home better priced, and to have your home better marketed. Allow me to do that for you. I was at a listing presentation in Newtown 6 weeks ago. We basically had the business all ready to go, and the vendor said, look, I've made up my mind, there's only one thing. This commission. I said, yep. The other agents, like, we want to go with you, but the other agents were about 0.5% cheaper. Uh-huh. So can you drop the fee? No. Well, the other 2 agents we had were cheaper, and like, we really want to go with you. I said, Samantha, can I ask you a question? If we were all the same fee, who are you going to pick today? She said, I'd pick you straight away. I said, why? Because like you better, you got better campaign, you've explained things better, you've shown me what you're going to do, I feel more confident. I've seen all the signboards that the agents got in the area. A lot of people have raved about it. I've seen that you've got, 2 of the record prices, and I just think that you're better. I said, don't you think that's why we're dearer? It's no different to doctors, plumbers, any industry. The reason why one's dearer is one's better. That's the reason. And I said, are we talking about 0.5% here? I said, let me position this. You're talking about 0.5%. Don't you feel with what you've just said as to why you want to go with us versus the other agent is because we're better? And because we're better, hypothetically, because we market better, we negotiate better, we get 2 or 3 people that fight over your property, we are able to create urgency and get someone that really loves the house, doesn't like it, loves it, falls in love with it. So we get a heart buyer, and we use good marketing techniques, and we create urgency, and we close it, and we sell your property, and we get 5% more. You know what? You paid 0.5% dearer, but you got 5% more in the price. That means that you are 4.5% better off going here. That's what this deal's about. I said, by the way, don't get too immersed into this commission, because let me tell you, you know who the cheapest agent is? The cheapest agent is the one that gets you the best price. That's the cheapest agent. No sale, no charge. Look, I know some of you do it. Some of you don't. My personal view is when I get asked that question at a listing presentation, they say, what do you think of no sale, no charge? Spoke to the other agent. My response is, look, it's not a bad strategy if you don't want to sell your house. They go, what do you mean? I said, if you don't want to sell it, it's a good strategy. I said, think about it. It's like saying, I'm going to go from Perth to Bali. You're at a travel agent. The travel agent says, I've got two options. We can go flying out there with Qantas. It's going to cost you $700 return. Or we can go with airline special 123 and money back guarantee. If the plane ever gets to Bali, you don't have to pay. I just want to get to Bali, but. Seth Godin. Love this guy. He's an American. Hands up if you've heard of him. I should have put my watch back. I got off the flight about 2 hours ago and I forgot to. So it's now 4 o'clock, right? Because it says here 6. So it's now 4 o'clock. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure we're not running ahead of schedule. It's 4 o'clock. Okay. Beautiful. I lose track. I have an incredible disconnect with time sometimes, you know. So Seth Godin's an interesting guy. He's got 2 kids. And his wife really, one day she said, when we have vacations, next time, please, let's not go back to Disneyland. Can we go out and feel nature? Can we go out? He lives in New York. So for them to get nature, you know where they've got to go? They've got to go to the French countryside. So what they do is they go to France, they hire a car, and they're driving along with his 2 daughters in the back. And they're driving along, and eventually they hit the countryside. And his 2 daughters look out the window, and they see their first cow ever. They're young girls, they're about 7 or 5 and 7, I think. And they'd never seen a real-life cow in New York, but they'd seen one now through the window of their car. And they're yelling, and they're enthusiastic, and they're overwhelmed. And they're just saying how remarkable the cow looks. Listen to the words, remarkable, able to be remarked. Key word. The first cow, they were freaking out. The second cow, not so much, but still overwhelmed. After about driving for about 15 minutes, they saw more and more cows on the countryside. But what they noticed was this. The first cow was remarkable. The 50th cow was damn boring. And there's an incredible metaphor here that in 2012, if you're not remarkable, you become invisible. And the reason why it's simple, there's 800 or 900 of you here today on this great event that REIWA's put on, and there is thousands of other agents outside of this room that are all competing for listings against you. And vendors are sitting there trying to make a decision. They just think it's an agent, it's an agent. Think about it. In 2012, your average person has got ADD because of all the information overload. They're watching Foxtel. There's messages flying at their face. They go out into the letterbox. They open up the letterbox. There's brochures, Thai restaurant, Kmart. They walk in, they open up the paper, there's leaflets that fall out of the paper. They're on their phone, they've got Twitter, Facebook notifications coming to them left, right and centre. They look at their emails, there's SMSs. Everyone is fighting for your attention. And unless you become a purple cow, you become invisible. It's so important now for you to stand out. 30 years ago, the strategy was easy. Copy someone. If they're doing it, they're successful, copy them. In 2012, you can't do that. You've got to be different. You've got to be remarkable, able to be remarked on. Because in your marketplace, there's probably 50 salespeople that your vendor can pick.